Hi, I'm Paul Robichaux, CTO at Quadratech, and with me is Alan Byrne, VP and Director of Product Management at Quadratech. And we're going to talk about something that a lot of customers have questions or issues about: cloud-to-cloud migrations.
Yes.
Sounds simple, right? I mean, cloud, if it's in the cloud, you want it in the cloud. It doesn't sound hard.
Well, it is. It's really hard. And it's not just about moving data. You need to make sure you move the permissions, all the other pieces as well. So, a lot of people can just copy and paste files or emails or that type of thing. But there's so much going on in Office 365 now. We've got groups, teams, all these bits that are interconnected and intertwined. You have to untangle it, put it back together again in the other one as well. So it's a bigger problem than most people anticipate.
So mergers and acquisitions is one common case, right? That's what happened with Cogmotive and Quadratech. We have the reverse problem with the divestiture. So if you've got a company that's spinning off a business unit or is being forced to divest some part of its assets, they have the same problem in reverse, which is how do you carve off a chunk of an existing tenant and put its data somewhere else without having to recreate everything from scratch?
And not just, the data isn't always in a folder called "this is the thing we're selling." You need to go and find the data inside that SharePoint environment, Teams, all over the place by, finding out what are we selling, are we giving away too much, are we giving away too little, and then orchestrating that once you've figured out what to move.
You also have all the issues around deciding which people go where, right? Which user accounts are you moving into a consolidated tenant, or moving from the purchaser to the purchasee, or the base organization, whatever you call it, to the one that's being divested? You have to move everything, starting with the user account and then on through everything that user account owns, all the permissions, all the metadata, all the other relationships that are tied to that account object.
Yeah, such as delegates, shared mailboxes,
Right.
all of these types of things. And you can't move a user and not move their PA, because then it doesn't work anymore. Someone gets very angry when no one's putting meetings in the calendar at the right time. So it's about identifying where people need to move in that orchestration piece and then actually moving.
Now there are companies, for example, I know of one headquartered very close to me that has something like 200 different Office 365 tenants that individual offices have created because nobody told them not to. And everybody in those offices individually said, wow, Office 365 is great. Look, we get desktop apps and we get email and we get all these other things. Let's have a tenant. This whole mass of different tenant names, incompatible policies. They really have a tough road to hoe when you think about trying to take all that data and smash it into one unified tenant.
And it's something we're seeing a lot now. Absolutely, we see these consolidation projects, as we like to call them, where exactly they have regrets about
Right.
maybe having to have different geographical locations to store that data. But now Microsoft have announced that there's multi-geo tenants, so you can choose where in a single tenant the data is physically stored, which then allows these companies to consolidate into a single place, but still keep those local sort of adherence to those laws. The first thing you need to do is work out what you've got. And that's where another product of ours, the radar reporting, comes in. We recommend that a customer signs up for that and does essentially a sort of analysis of what is actually in that environment. Once we have all of that data, feed it directly into our Cloud Commander product, which is the bit that moves the data, and we create these migration waves. So we know that these users all need to go at this time, and then we add a business logic onto that, but we don't want to move them on at the end of the quarter because they're sales people. So we add the data from the tenant and the business data together, and this is where our fixed price, fixed outcome solution comes in, where we give you that consulting service on top of the migration as well to say, look, we've done this before. We find that to be successful in a project like this, you really need to think of A, B, C, and D, and we help them through that. So the first piece, get the data. Second piece, move the data, and then pull it all down and walk away.
So that's what differentiates Cloud Commander, for example, from Microsoft. At Ignite, they announced that they were going to offer cross-tenant mailbox moves. But there's a pretty significant problem with that approach, right?
Well, that's it. It's just moving the data.
Right.
Yeah, so what are we moving? When do we move it? How do we move it? The how part is the only part that Microsoft are really tackling here. And it's not just email. You've got OneDrive, you've got SharePoint information. You can't just move someone's mailbox and then not move their files. It doesn't work that way.
And Microsoft is making this problem worse when they introduce a new product such as Teams. Right now, Teams has no API to put data in or get data out. So if you want to migrate Teams data, Microsoft doesn't have a way to do that.
No, absolutely not.
They continue to add new services, which is great for the people who are buying those licenses. But it just complicates the cloud-to-cloud migration process more and more every time they drop a new workload in our labs.
And that's exactly why we recommend people sign up for the radar reporting first. Because a lot of the time, the IT admins don't know what services their users are using. I can just go in and start, a plan in Planner. No one's going to tell me that I can or can't do that. It's just an option that comes up in my Office 365
Right.
portal. I go in and I go, hey, this is cool. Maybe in the video portal, I've uploaded a lot of things for my team that the IT team has never enabled or never even had visibility of. So it's about identifying where these people are, what are they doing in a day-to-day basis, and then moving that data as well. Like we said, it's not just moving it. You need to make sure you inform the users, you reconfigure clients as well, and a lot of the Microsoft solutions don't go to that level. And when you have a giant organization with 100,000 people, you can't have IT people running around every person's desk as soon as they move that mailbox to reconfigure the Outlook profile or change the way the OneDrive points to. So it's all about getting all the pieces to move at the right time.
You've been listening to Alan and I talk about cloud-to-cloud migration. If you'd like to see more of our great videos, then you can click subscribe below or visit www.quadratech-it.com. So if you're thinking in terms of what a customer needs to know, anything else that...
I don't know where we're going with this.
Yeah, I don't know where we're going with that either. We'll come back and we'll edit that out.
And on that note,